as a family, as a mother, as a father, as a sister, as a brother.
With most of the nation under stay-at-home orders, the CDC says the U.S. death toll from coronavirus could be lower than the 100,000 to 200,000 projected just a week ago.
And there's a monster we're fighting, but signs are that our strategy is totally working.
But experts say they're seeing a disturbing trend among African Americans, a group showing higher rates of serious complications and death.
It's not that they're getting infected more often, is that when they do get infected, their underlying medical conditions wind them up in the ICU and ultimately give them a higher death rate.
President Trump also facing questions about a January 29th memo by top White House advisor Peter Navarro, who warned of widespread loss of life and economic devastation. The memo coming at a time the president was downplaying the threat.
I'm a cheerleader for this country. I don't want to create havoc and shock and everything else.
Meanwhile, the president touting his administration's efforts to get life-saving loans to small businesses. Despite computer glitches and widespread confusion, the White House promising that businesses in need will get their loans, and that there are already plans to go back to Congress to ask for more money to beef up the program. Susan McGinnis, NBC News, Washington.
As this virus seeps into cities across the country, there are troubling new signs that communities of color are getting hit much harder than others. NBC's Miguel Almaguer has more.
As the coronavirus spreads across big cities and small communities, it took roughly a month for our national death toll to reach 5,000. But in less than 5 days, that number doubled, now surpassing 10,000. It comes amid scenes like these in Florida, little social distancing as many wait in line to file for unemployment benefits. In Wisconsin, a primary election unlike any other.
I haven't seen anything like this in my lifetime.
Thousands of voters battling long lines and masks, trying to stay 6 feet apart after the courts blocked an effort to postpone the election.
They should have prolonged it or pushed it back.
Frustration in Wisconsin comes while Michigan is now experiencing their deadliest days. More than 700 employees at the Henry Ford Health System in Detroit have contracted the virus, the police chief among the nearly 600 officers spending time in quarantine.
I've never seen anything like this. You know, I've been through earthquakes and riots in Los Angeles, so I know what a significant crisis looks like, but not like this.
Though no community is immune from the virus, people of color are facing alarming rates of infection. In Chicago, 68% of the city's deaths involve African Americans, who make up just 30% of the population.
Those numbers take your breath away.
In Louisiana, 70% of those who have died are also African American, though they too comprise roughly 30% of the state's population. Dr. Uche Blackstock is on the front lines of the fight.
COVID-19 is the perfect storm for our Black and Brown communities, which are mostly low income. You know, they're going to be the most affected due to lack of access to testing. Many of them still working on the front lines as essential workers or service workers.
Several states have not issued stay-at-home orders, even as new infections and deaths mount. In Seattle, we are getting an exclusive look inside the University of Washington's COVID unit, where the most serious cases get critical treatment.
We just cannot take our foot off the gas at this point. We need all the capacity that we can manage to be able to care for a potential second wave of COVID patients.
In states like Washington and California, where social distancing measures were ordered early, the Surgeon General says the infection curve there has flattened. But hospitals across the country are still bracing for patients like Paul Logan, the Indiana high school athletic director who has been on a ventilator for 6 days.
They don't know what's going to happen next. Like, they're just as blind in that field as we are. And so they do say prepare for the worst, but they hope for the best.
But even amid all the heartbreak, there are heartwarming stories of survival. A tearful send-off for Christina Paz, a mother of 5 who left the ICU and got to hug her husband for the first time in 2 weeks.